Hello and welcome! Today we are in the new Tier 9 Spanish heavy cruiser, the Almirante Oquendo. She is the new dockyard ship. She's basically a premium Andalusia, the Tier 9 Spanish tech tree cruiser. Well, her hull is the same, but her guns are actually different. Although she does get about 500 meters better concealment for some reason, but the rest of the hull is the same. The same speed, same maneuverability, same HP, and basically the same armor. The Almirante Oquendo doesn't get Andalusia's 9 234mm guns, but instead she gets 12 203mm guns. Her HE DPM is 157k compared to the Andalusia's 129k. This is about a 20% increase. She also gets 17.6 kilometers range, which is 900 meters more than the Andalusia, but her AP gets significantly less pen. I couldn't even citadel Lexington at like 6 to 7 kilometers with the Oquendo. She does start a lot more fires though, basically 50% more than Andalusia. She gets 1 fewer torpedo per launcher, 3 instead of the 4 of the tech tree ship, and she gets only 4.6 kilometer long range anti-air compared to the Andalusia 6 kilometers. Overall, she feels like a typical Tier 9 heavy cruiser, although with a bit more base range than normal. I think I like her a bit more than the Andalusia because of that increased range and the increased HE DPM. The armor, just like Andalusia's, is pretty weak. If a battleship shoots at it, there's a good chance they will get citadel hits. Just look at how high the citadel sits. If a battleship or a heavy cruiser shoots at your broadside, they are gonna get citadel hits. The ship is very fast though, at 37.6 knots with a speed flag, and her maneuverability is alright. I wish the 11.3 kilometer concealment was a little better, but it's pretty typical for a heavy cruiser at this tier. She's a fine Tier 9 heavy cruiser, maybe even one of the best Tier 9 heavy cruisers. I do think that typical heavy cruisers are kind of meh though. At least the playstyle is, but the Almirante Oquendo acquits itself quite admirably. The combination of 17.6 kilometers range with a scout plane means that you can engage something quite often, even in Tier 10 matches. You might be constantly in those Tier 10 and Tier 11 games, but you can still participate. If you like typical heavy cruiser gameplay, then I think the Oquendo will be quite fine for you. I did win about 8 out of my last 12 matches with her. I think the Oquendo is not a must-get dockyard ship though. She's alright. But she is a high-tier ship that you can share your Castilla captain with. So all in all, I don't have any real problem with the ship. I think the CV changes will benefit this type of cruiser if those CV changes go through, because you can use your emotional support rock a little more effectively, right? Because if you're playing a cruiser, you need your emotional support rock. Something that I neglected in this match and almost paid the price for it. I was way too aggressive at the start of this match, but it's a very fast cruiser and it's quite easy to lose track of that. I mean, it's almost 38 knots, no speed boost involved even. These are the captain skills and upgrades that I used when playing the ship, and they worked just fine. I mean, honestly, just use anything you have on your Spanish cruisers already, because it'll work just fine, because she is just a heavy cruiser, although the AP isn't quite as useful as it is on the other ones, because you don't have the burst fire, and your AP penetration is just less than what you would expect normally. I think the alternate firing mode on this ship is quite useless. It improves your dispersion noticeably, but it also increases your reload time by 43%. Essentially, you're taking like a 40% damage per minute hit to use it. The main reason why I think it's kind of useless is because you're a heavy cruiser, and heavy cruiser dispersion is fine. You can noticeably improve it with the alternate firing mode, but it's not worth the 40% damage per minute hit that you're gonna take with it. The only situation that you would want to use this alternate firing mode in is if you will be very soon unable to shoot at the target for whatever reason. Either they go behind an island, you go behind an island, or you get out of range. Now you might think that this would be great for like nailing the broadside of a cruiser from far away, but that has two problems. Number one is that, well, cruisers are really maneuverable, so the chances of you being able to get a shot like that are pretty slim. And the second problem is that your AP penetration just isn't that great. I'm in a bit of trouble. Thank God he overpenned those. And in a situation like this, what you want to do is you want to angle against the enemy. And you want to show them some side. You want to go diagonally away or closer to them. You want to basically show as much broadside as possible while still causing ricochets with your main belt. Because then the enemy will most likely land their shells roughly center of your ship, especially when you're a fast ship like this one, and they will simply ricochet off. If you show too much broadside, you're gonna get citadelled, and if you show too little, they're gonna just overmatch your stern. But luckily though, the Soyuz did get targeted another ship, because if you look at the minimap, most of our team is in this one grid coordinate. So maybe actually it was the Soyuz that was in trouble. So there's nothing else here though, other than the one destroyer who there is no chance that the Orage will let us spot her. It's just gonna be sailing somewhere else. We could go after the cap zone, but I think looking at the minimap and how the match is going, it might be better to try to run interference and try to defend our cap zone. Because our Lexington is in a lot of trouble at this point. I did tell her to leave and she started going away, but we're gonna have to actually fight outnumbered. We've lost 5 ships, they've only lost 3, so they have a 2-ship advantage. And we are all positioned in one place. It might be alright though, because our destroyer and one of the cruisers is actually going for the cap zone. This will distract the enemy CV hopefully, and we will try to hopefully catch the enemies while they aren't grouped up. Which seems to already be the case. The Orage is in the middle, the Nagato is really far away in the back. And honestly, it looks a lot like their team did basically the same thing we did. Luckily though, my team is now spreading out properly. The California is going north, the Massachusetts as well, but look, they're not like going together. The Karl Johan is coming with me, so this looks pretty good. Okay, maybe not with me, because I'm not gonna go there. Because I think if I go there right now, I'm gonna just die. Because Nagata's already aiming at me. I'm sure the Prince Heinrich, once she rounds the corner, is gonna do the same thing. And I am still a heavy cruiser, gotta keep in mind that. But I'm a really fast heavy cruiser, which means repositioning is okay, it's something I can do. I think the priority is to try to take out the French destroyer, and then start, shelling the battleships. Hopefully my battleships will go in tank, and it seems like the Karl Johan is doing exactly that. That won't really be possible anymore, or at least most likely won't be happening much after the CV changes. Where the CV just goes and spots the destroyer constantly. I mean, it's gonna happen a little bit, of course. Destroyers shouldn't get too excited about never being spotted anymore. It's gonna happen. Man, this is such a nice emotional support rock, don't you think? It's so big and strong. And immovable like a mountain. So it's not gonna get sunk by torpedoes or anything. Man, this Prince Heinrich is gonna be such a nice target. Sure, she's kinda far away, and this is actually one aspect that the Oquendo is pretty good at, because you have the 17.6 kilometer base range. I mean, compared to like the American cruisers that are like 15.8, I think. This is a lot better. Because you don't need to, worry about range upgrades or planes or anything. You can just shell normally. And actually aiming this far is also pretty fine. I mean, hitting like faster cruisers can be a little more difficult, but it's gonna be whatever. This is where I use the alternate firing mode, because look, the Ibuki is gonna be behind an island and I do need to reposition my own ship a little bit. And I mean, 40% damage per minute drop is... On a battleship, this would be pretty massive, but on a cruiser, I mean, just a little bit of repositioning I did, the timing wasn't that big of a deal here. But if you're just shooting a target normally, you shouldn't use it. in my opinion at least. Okay, we're gonna take out the Nagato. The Prince Heinrich is next. And I think actually it might be time to push. Because my armor might not be great, but it can certainly hold up against heavy cruisers. And hey, look. The 7 versus, what was it, 9? Well, we're now even. 6 versus 6. And actually I would even say that we're better than even. Because they do have 2 battleships, but it's a Monarch and a... I guess Massachusetts is really strong. But we have a Massachusetts of our own. And a California. Actually, I guess their battleships are still better. But we're gonna sink this Ibuki very soon, and then we will have a numerical advantage. Darn old defenders. Yeah, I think our team did really well this time. Like the way we spread out, like evenly, where we went towards the cap zone and made the enemy spread out, while also, you know, having multiple angles against attacking ships. I think that was very, very good. Okay, York, let's try some AP on you. Surely we're gonna citadel you, right? If you're this little angled. Come on. Okay, never mind. This might have just been bad aim. But I mean, 8 hits just over penetrations. Our AP isn't that strong, okay? We didn't overpen the citadel. Well, we tried. It didn't work. I don't think the alternate firing mode would have helped either. So, next up we focus on the Monarch, because, well, there was an island that blocked me from sailing in the direction I was to actually keep shooting at the York. And at this point, taking out the battleship is more important, because she could point her guns at me at any moment, and then I would be in danger, whereas against the York, I'm really not going to be. Now, I do make a bit of a mistake here. I should be using Hydra at this moment, because York could have torpedoed, and I think they have 6-kilometer torps. But I kind of forgot about it, and I got lucky because it doesn't really cause a problem for me. Again, same thing as with the Soyuz, keep sailing diagonally towards them. Basically show enough broadside that they will ricochet, which is, you want to show exactly 30 degrees broadside. Okay, 31 is probably fine. But too much is not great either. Like right now, I'm just trying to dodge, but that's not the best option. The best option is to go diagonally. You're gonna get hit, but at least they're not gonna overmatch your bow, most likely. Anyway, we've dealt with the battleships, and now it's a 5 versus 2. And man, that Massachusetts has had quite a hell of a game. That's Kraken Unleashed. Well done, Massachusetts. Well done. Now it's time to go find the CV, wherever she may be. But looking at the fact that she was attacking into the cap zone, and I am not spotted while firing, I'm guessing she is somewhere in that direction. Not the destroyer, the CV. Because if it was the DD, I would be spotted. Okay, yeah, Lexington planes are coming from there. She's probably behind the rock that I'm sailing towards. Now, I didn't quite realize it at the time, but one of these rocks, right? Because that's the direction the planes came from. And I mean, if we have enough time, I would like to fight the Lexington. I think we do, because she's gonna keep resetting the cruiser. Oh, wow, wait. The enemy destroyer, the Yugumo, is so far behind. I guess she's been chasing the Lexington, and it really hasn't worked out right. Even though the Lexington only spotted her now, well, she hasn't been able to catch up to the Lexington, right? The Lexington has just sailed away. Oh, there she is. I figured she would be actually entirely behind that. Well, 10 kilometers, surely. I mean, it's an aircraft carrier. We're gonna be able to citadel this. Right? Wrong. Well, torpedo protection it. Maybe we just need to aim a little lower. For more torpedo protection it. So what I think is we do penetrate through the torpedo belt, but then when we hit the hull, we don't get a penetrating hit anymore. So that's why we're not getting any citadels. This ship can't citadel a Lexington at 9 kilometers who is completely broadside. Pretty much as broadside as you can possibly get. And this ship just doesn't have enough pen for that. That's, yeah. This is why the alternate firing mode, I think, just isn't that useful either, because, well, even if you do nail the shot, you just aren't gonna citadel from far away, and at close range, you don't really need the dispersion. So, it's just not that useful. This would actually be more useful on the Andalusia, and Andalusia's burst fire actually might be more useful on this. Although I think Andalusia still would prefer the burst fire over this. Wow, that CV does a lot of damage though. Hopefully we'll spot her again. And, because the closer you get, the harder it is for the CV to continue striking. So, I don't know, I'm gonna try EP again. This time we're at 6 kilometers. She is a little bit angled, but it's not much, okay? Surely we'll be able to settle now. Okay, I think that might have just been bad. No! Torpedo protection hit and no penetrating hits afterwards. It means I can't citadel. 5 kilometers! This AP is, it's a wet noodle, okay? I should probably use AP here. I'm afraid that I'm just gonna overpen in the bow though. Oh, and the Massachusetts gets killed number 6. But hey, we had a good enough game. 185,000 damage, 2 ships sunk, 28 planes shot down, 2,376 base XP, and we even have 1,000,000 potential damage. But man, this AP against the Lexington really shows the lack of penetration on it. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.